One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Together.
And welcome back to another episode of the True Patriot Outfitters podcast. Folks, we got a special guest with us here today. This dude is well known throughout the social media channels, well known in the Missouri area. If you're in kayak fishing, you've seen this dude's content. Hands down, I'm going to tell you right now, it's some of the best content that I've had a chance to take in. That's how I first learned about him. Then when I saw that not only was dude a kayak angler, but he's an active military member, he's a freaking chopper pilot, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a guy we have got to catch up to and definitely get on the show here. Before we get going too much further, tonight's episode being brought to you by Trocar Fishing, Eagle Claw Fishing, all in the same family. If American-made terminal tackle is important to you, you need to be working with Eagle Claw, Trocar, Laser Sharp, the whole family there. Made right here in Denver, Colorado. Dude, they've been around since like dirt was invented. I think, long before we all started fishing. Eagle Claw was doing its thing out there, and now they make, the penetration of these hooks is like none other, and I am thoroughly proud to be a part of those guys. They're helping bring this podcast to the front, and also the Romans Warrior Foundation. You know about them. They are my title sponsor for the whole fishing tour. Romans has the Stop 22 tour, the Global War on Terror Wall of Remembrance, our division, the Warrior Field Ops, the retreats, more and more. And we've got a busy summer. Check out romanswarriorfoundation.org and you'll see where we're going this summer. So we're going to bring dude in here, and you guys, this is a special thing here because he and I have barely just started to speak off air here, and I wanted to capture the initial conversation of the two of us, kind of exploring and getting to know each other here on air. What I know of him is from what I've seen online out there. So this will be a really cool introduction here, and I'm watching him in the green room. When it looks like he's ready, we'll bring him in. Here he goes. We're going to get a good shot of his chest here if I bring him in. He's adjusting a camera, I think. All right, folks, so here we go. Without further ado, this is Brandon. You know him online as Dustoff Fishing. Let's welcome him into the podcast. How are you, sir?
Hello. I am a hot mess express, but I think I'm set.
I was just talking up all your content, too. Did you just use toilet paper to brace your camera, bro?
No, this is thermal label printer paper.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a lot funnier when I thought it was toilet paper.
I'm telling you, man. Since I started social media, the craziest stuff. Like, I've got a thermal label printer. I've got a ring light that I was trying to get set up here, and yeah, I did not think that through 100%.
It's no joke, is it, man? I mean, we're not batting anywhere near the level you are, but it's no joke. Doing content, videos, podcast, I don't care what it is its own full-time job in and of itself, man, to do it the right way, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of people, they ask, like, how do you get so much content, or I'm gonna run out, or how, like that is, I think a lot of people struggle with the fact is like, and I do as well, when I'm getting ready to take a trip, is like, God, I don't want to bring the GoPro. I don't want to mess with that. Like you get at the ramp and you're like, gosh, I don't want to mess with my camera equipment or whatever. But that's just one of those things. It's like you're either invested in this or you're not. So right. I tell people, if I've got a lure in the water and I don't have a camera running, I'm not doing my job. So
that's awesome, dude. Well, and it shows, man, because your content online is literally, like, to me, in my opinion, not just saying this because you're a guest here, but it's like the standard. I mean, this is where you need to be. you put out a post just in the last couple days about what it takes to get a following there. And people are always thinking there's a silver bullet, right? They're always thinking there's this one secret thing that you do out there. And it's like, I can answer it from the podcast side of things. No, it's not. It's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of time, and it's consistency, man. You got to keep doing it. But I mean, you gave them, great pointers in there, but it's like, this isn't going to happen overnight. If you get that kind of stuff, that's bots, man. And that stuff will fall off, and you're going to waste your money on that stuff.
So a couple things. Let me shut this door real quick.
Yeah. So we'll see if we get him back here. It looks like there was a little bit of delay. The audio. Oh, there we go. Yes.
Okay. So a lot of companies will shy away from influencers that have had like an overnight blow up.
Yep.
Some of them won't, but I know a couple people that went from he was announced.
Oh, and we just lost him. We'll see if we can get Brandon back here. Hang tight with us, folks. So I'm trying to reach out to him. Oh, there he is. Now we got him. Hang on a sec. Let's pull him back in. There you are, brother. We got you.
I'm just going to do this on cellular networks. Apparently the Wi-Fi is unreliable. So basically I was saying I know a guy who went from 40K to 120K in a very, very short amount of time. And
right.
I'm not going to name names, but I will tell you that he had a reel that hit 17 million views that he didn't make himself and took credit for. And so that's kind of the wrong way to do it, in my opinion. And then there was somebody else who looks a lot better than I do in a bikini that went from 15K to 150K. Very, very short.
Yep.
But for the 99 percentile, which is guys like you and me.
Yep.
We got to use other tools at our disposal to get the party going. So It has not been overnight. I've had weeks where I've had 10-hour days on the phone getting this thing started. I was spending more time liking other people's stuff and commenting on other people's stuff and following and tracking follows and stuff like that than I was actually making content.
Yep.
But I've also seen like the ebbs and flows of Instagram where we started with pictures and then Reels kind of got popular and then they supposedly brought pictures back, but that's not really true. It's still Reels. They're just not paying us for them anymore.
Right. Right.
And so, I mean, you just have to be adaptable as well.
So not too long ago at a conference for the MPAA, which is the National Professional Anglers Association, it's a nonprofit, and Gerald Swindell was our guest speaker down at the big annual conference down in Florida. And he had made mention to the fact that if you look at the fine print, Facebook still pays better for its monetization than a lot of its, competitors out there. And we don't have that kind of following, on our side of things. We've been more focused on other areas and just trying to do our best to pick up the exposure piece and learn as we go. It hasn't been our primary, run, but have you found, similar stuff to that? Or is it, of the social medias, what's the best impact that you find out there? TikTok, YouTube, which one are you liking?
I think companies gravitate towards YouTube and Instagram. And then I think kids gravitate towards TikTok. And then I think the older generation generally gravitates towards Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
And honestly, like I was Facebook resistant in the beginning, but since Instagram took away the monetization, I've really kind of focused on diversifying my content. So I'm on all 4 platforms. I started with, I want to say like 100 Facebook follows to the Dustoff fishing page 3 months ago, and now I'm at 2,084, I think, as of today. So I
Nice.
was a little behind the power curve on the Facebook stuff. But what's great is Instagram allows your content to kind of cross over to Facebook. One of the things that was frustrating me quite a bit was on Instagram Reels. If you look at your insights, Instagram will play your Reels on Facebook, but like that doesn't translate to anything on Instagram
I
for
was going
you.
to say it doesn't track that as traffic, though, does it?
It tracks that I had a reel that was at 1.7 million views, and then 1.5 of those were on Facebook, and I got absolutely no benefit out of those views whatsoever. So,
Gotcha.
I and I was struggling linking the two accounts because I have a personal page and then I have
Yep.
the company page. This is an LLC, just like Euro 503C.
Yep.
So
Yep.
and that's basically for tax liabilities for the most part. But I was having a hard time linking them, and I finally got them linked. And when I did, it was like a lot of the stuff that, like TikTok, it's like a lot of the stuff that doesn't do quite that well on Instagram really blows up on TikTok or vice versa. So it's interesting to see how that stuff works out.
Do you focus heavily all your video content? Does it go to YouTube as well? Is that something you really you work on, or is it just kind of?
Yeah, so I was working towards the long form content. I really was, but too many irons in the fire. I had to stick to shorts for a while. I got my subs up high enough to monetize on YouTube, but I haven't hit the watch hours or the views to do that. Like you were saying, it's just one of those things. It's like for me personally, I feel like you're good at one thing or another thing,
Yep.
and then you spend the rest of the time kind of catching up your other things. And
Yeah.
so I'm developing processes and implementing things that will make making long form content easier, like looping on the GoPro, like that.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. You're coming
Well,
back.
but yeah, I had a hard time starting a big YouTube channel like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides all this here, and I mean, obviously, you do have an awesome following on Instagram. That was the first thing. I'll be honest with you. I'll share with you I had seen a few of your videos that you had put out. Oh, let's wait till we get him back here. You still with us, Brandon? Oh, there he's coming back. All right, you got us.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. We
Mhm.
lost you there for a little bit. So, okay. So yeah, so one of the, I had seen, a lot of your videos and so forth coming down the line, and I had followed you, but it was after the Chad Davison interview. You had commented on our video there, and I remember telling my wife, I'm like, this is huge. This dude has got a massive following and he's commenting on our videos. Man, we were so proud that we had attracted the attention of a guy like, coming in there. Cause as you know, man, that's a massive thing, man, is when you can, cross platform like that and touch other audiences that are following. Cause there's people that are following you that if you comment, they're going to see it. You know what I mean? And it's like, directing, and sure as heck, I think we picked up like 5-7 subscriptions to our YouTube channel within literally like a day or so of your comment on there. And I know for a fact it was coming from, people saw that from there. So it's always a big deal to catch on that. For us, it boils straight down to whatever we can do to get this mission out there and get more people aware of kayak fishing, its benefits, and get communities, engaging that, and get guys that are not, that are active or that are in veteran status now, and gals, get them aware of the fact that, dude, there's a big community out there, and you should come try this, give this a whirl. When did you first discover kayak fishing itself? Because I mean, I assume you came from the boat world as like I did.
No, I've never fished. Not until I started kayak fishing. I mean, I'd fished like, off the dock on the weekends as a kid for like bluegill and catfish, but I'd never seriously fished.
Never from a boat then.
No, actually, what's funny is I bought a boat in May of 2020, and I had never um, owned a boat before. So
Good stuff. So you were
yeah,
like,
I'm a look before you leap kind of guy, or leap before you look kind of guy.
that's awesome, man. So, on a similar vein, so I was in bass boats for like 10, 11 years and competing and chasing this thing. Last year, literally January, I think it was. I can't remember how it came to be, but it made more sense to try to do the veteran support work with kayaks than trying to do this boat thing. It's like the logistics of getting guys in a boat. I could do one, maybe two at a time, and that was it. But the fact that, we with the kayak, we knew we could, have a much bigger reach. And I got the kayaks. I had withdrawn from the MLF events that we were in, and I was set up and registered. And the very first tournament I ever did was at Truman, was the Classic last year. Actually, no, take that back. I did one at Horsetooth Reservoir here. It was so ticked off at myself, and then I jumped into Classic, man, and that was my first time in a kayak going out tournament fishing against those you guys, these freaking hooks in Missouri, man. I've like got my tail handed to me, but I realized at that point I'm in, dude. I love this stuff. The kayak game is hands down a whole different world.
So Truman's a tough lake, like first of all.
Can
So
be.
yeah, it's not, and it's not like any other lake that you fish because there's just so much stuff that kind of, well, not I'm not saying it's like not like any other lake, but for me, it's like if you fished every tree sticking out of the water, you'd fish a million trees, And
And
you
you'd
just
cover
have
like a
to,
quarter mile. That's it.
yeah. Yeah, so you have to figure out how to eliminate water in that fishery for sure.
I've always said this. Truman is the least Ozarkian out of all the Ozark lakes, in my opinion. It's its own critter, man.
Yeah, it's the only place you throw black and chartreuse square bills, that's for sure.
As much as you want to.
Yep.
Well, if you do, it's going to be a wiper. I promise you that. If you find the water where you can throw it, that's what you're going to get
Yep.
hit with. Yeah.
Yep.
So you got into kayak fishing then just like me, relatively recently here in the last couple of years then, yes?
Yeah, my evolution into fishing has been relatively quick, thanks to guys like Chad Davison. So I don't want to sit here and say like I'm a self-made millionaire or anything. I've had a lot of help. Ryan Reed actually was, I don't know if you know him. He's the real yak dragger. He and I were like the dynamic duo there for a while when he lived in Missouri. He's got about 60,000 Instagram followers right now.
I was going to say, I see you guys collaborate quite a bit on stuff.
Yeah, and so I actually first learned about kayak fishing when a guy that has a cabin. So I have a place at the Lake of the Ozarks, and my neighbor found a floating Tamarack Lifetime kayak in the middle of the lake and brought it back to his dock. And I just was like, "Hey, man, care if I take that thing out for a spin?" So I was out there with like a Quantum Energy, like 5'6" spinning reel with like a split shot and a worm, on this Tamarack
Bubba rigging it.
kayak. Yeah, and I loved it. I had so much fun. It was very peaceful. There's just something to being that close to the water. I know that sounds weird, but
No, I totally get it.
after that, I started seriously considering like, hey, this fishing thing's kind of for me. And then COVID was kind of a thing, and you couldn't be around a lot of people. And then, so as I started to like fishing more, I started to post about fishing on my private Instagram page, and nobody gave a shit at all, at all. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can't get more information about fishing from other people. So I started the public page November 8th of 2020. So 2.5 years ago. And then I met Ryan through that page, and he and I are local. We were local to each other, so he took me to my first kayak tournament in March of 21.
Good
Uh,
stuff.
I I caught one fish, 19 3/4 inch largemouth on a black and blue football jig that I threw on
Nice.
a spinning rod.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Out
and
there with the egg beater getting her done.
yeah, and then last year was my first full year of kayak tournaments, and I won the state river championship with Chad Davison. He and I got first place, and I got third individual.
Good
And
stuff.
I had a couple top 20s, and so it's like the evolution of this fishing thing is kind of taken off for me. So, but it's like I said, it's all due to guys like Ryan Reed, Chad Davison, countless people on Instagram that have critiqued in a very, very positive way, taught me
Yeah.
a lot. Luke Ruth Fishing is another guy who teaches me a lot. He's a local guy here. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I'd like to say that, it's just a combination of a lot of things,
Yeah.
being a good person, believing in yourself, believing in others, you know, hard work.
I was going to say one of the things I've maintained so many times about our sport, and it doesn't matter what vessel you choose to fish from. This remains the same across the board. I come from an experienced background where I coached for 18 years football. I've coached hockey and I have coached track. So I feel as if I have a decent opinion to this after seeing many other sports and being around the coaching environment and athletics. There is no other sport on this planet that I've encountered to this point that exposes a person's work ethic like competitive fishing. There's no way around it. You will only get out of it what you put in. If you and it could be an honest reason, not judging here, but if you shortchange your pre-fishing, it's going to show up at some point. It's going to show up in there. If you don't put the work in, that time on the water, it just shows up. I've found myself many times where I get, mentally just not in the zone because I'm so focused on the business or the social media stuff, where we're trying to put this together, that I forget the fact that, hey, 50% of this is that tournament fishing to bring, to provide that stage for your mission, goofball. So you got to go out there and do something. And man, it just, if you can't get in that rhythm or you don't find, your sweet zone, your results just won't be there. And that's the thing. That grind is one of the things I fell in love with about the sport, is that it takes effort. You get your jokers that show up with no practice or whatever and just, knock it out of the park, but that's a rarity. That's not a common thing to see.
I think, I would say it like this: fishing will expose your willpower. And what I mean by that is, I went to Texas and fished Lake of the Pines, and I was there for 4 days. I fished Lake Fork, and I caught four fish, and my biggest fish was 14 inches. So
That was a tough fishery, bro. I was there with you. It was goofy.
it
One
was.
zig when you should have zagged, and
But
yeah,
I mean, people that are, and I'm one of those people that's very used to, you know, uh, putting a goal on a piece of paper and accomplishing it. That's just kind of how I'm built. But fishing is not like that. It's not like it's just, you work hard for a week and you're good at it. You have to build that base, you have to build that experience. And the guys
right,
that can get away with not pre-fishing are not guys like me.
right.
They're guys like Chad, to be honest with you. Guys that have been doing this for 20, 30 years competitively. They they've thrown it all, they've seen it all, they've done it all. They instinctually know what a situation, sets up like. I have that sometimes, but not in Texas.
Right. Well, and I would also argue that, and I bet you Chad would back this up, though, is if you put Chad on a body of water he had never been to, he's going to need some pre-fishing to at least understand his environment if he's fishing against the guys you and I fish against, because these guys are just hammers, man. I mean, in the All-American, that's a series of anglers that it's pretty strong. But you're right. There are some guys where this stuff, they've been doing it for so long that it comes a little bit easier. And I agree with you. I'm one of the guys that doesn't work either for me either.
Well, one of the reasons why Chad's so successful is because he will not allow himself not to be prepared for
That's
anything.
awesome.
He stays at my house when he fishes some of these tournaments down here at Table Rock or Taneycomo, and I
Nice.
see what he does. I mean, he comes down here at like 6. And I have a barn out here. I let him park his stuff in, and it's kind of like my bait cave or whatever. And he's out there from 6 till 10. He'll eat
Right.
dinner. He'll be polite, but he's basically rigging and going over and over and checking maps and all these other things. And then he's 100% engaged.
Yeah, and it shows. It shows through. So let's talk briefly here. So I don't know your official title. You are with the Air National Guard. Is that correct?
I'm with the Army National Guard.
Army National Guard. Okay, and are you a pilot?
Yes, I'm the facility commander at the Army Aviation Flight Facility here in Springfield, Missouri. My rank is major.
Nice.
My Army job, if you will, like my non-Monday through Friday, but my weekend job is I'm the Brigade S3, which is the operations officer for the 35th Combat Aviation Brigade in Sedalia. So
Awesome.
I just got appointed to that June 1st after leaving command. I fly HH-60 Mike model Blackhawks mostly, but I am also qualified in the H-64 Alpha and Delta Apache, the LUH-72 Lakota, and the Alpha Lima Blackhawk, and the Bell 206, which is a TH-67 in the Army. So,
Dude, that's impressive as hell. That is freaking awesome. First and foremost, thank
it's
you.
a lot of words.
It is. It's a lot of alphabet soup going on in there too.
Yeah.
You lost me after a helicopter. I'm just saying.
That's why I just usually, if I just talk to people that are non-military, just say I'm a helicopter pilot.
Right. Well, I noticed in your it's one that you've sent some just freaking awesome content from. You've been able to do a couple shots there. It looks like a med chopper. Is that right?
Yeah, so the HH is a medical platform, and then the UH is like the assault platform.
Roger that. Okay. So let's say I know a nonprofit that's putting a huge event on in Loveland, Colorado. How much it cost us to get one of your choppers to land in Loveland?
I think the going rate's like $6,000 an hour. So
I looked into that of getting a Chinook dropped, and so that's a cheaper rate than what the Chinook is going to cost us.
I'd like to say. So what's kind of crazy about and we get requests like that. We get like legitimate requests for like honor flight, which is like those guys that go to like World War II and stuff. But if it has anything to do with fundraising or making money for the nonprofit, and it's not just strictly for the participants of the event, then it's a no-go.
Yep. You guys can't show that favoritism or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of like red tape when it comes to like requests. We get requests for like flyovers for funerals. We get parade requests. We get ball game requests, stuff like that. Those all go up to the national level for approval. Usually, I get a lot. I think that's probably my most asked question is, what do I got to do to get a flight?
Yeah.
And it varies. If you're an ID card holder, it's a little easier than if you're not. And in fact, it's a lot easier.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, we one of the guys he runs the Colorado Kayak Fishing Club's podcast out here. Matt Collins. He's a former Green Beret and now a Chinook pilot. And so, yeah, of course, I was bouncing it off him we've got a big 9/11 event that we're doing at a location here in Colorado. And so, yeah, I was just like, hey, man, what's it? He was like, about 10 grand an hour, I think. And he goes, and every time we land in urban areas, we blow everything over. So it's like, I don't know if that'll work too well on a motorcycle lot.
Yeah, we get a lot of those former combat arms guys in aviation because they're usually like either like sitting on the ground watching us fly over as they're like carrying heavy things a long distance.
Yep, exactly. They realize that's the job I need to do.
Yeah, they're like, how did like questioning their life decisions? How did I end up here? And that guy's going to be back at the crib eating, at the chow hall in 2 hours, and I'm out here in
Exactly.
La La Land.
No, I hear you. How long have you been in the service?
So I've been in 23 years.
Wow. You don't look old enough to be in 23 years, man. If you didn't,
I know. I got some. I did something right in the skin factory.
yeah. I mean,
I did, yeah.
You and your grunt style modeling, career that you got going on online too. I'm over here. I'm over here aging like milk, bro. All right. So, not cool. Not cool.
I'm just trying to be like Tom Brady. He just keeps apparently getting better looking. So.
And he's built in a lab, though. I'm convinced of that. I don't think that was a natural birth. I believe that was a test tube. Something happened with Brady. I don't get it.
He's doing it,
I hear you. So the grunt style thing, was that from the influencer side, or is that something just getting behind him? That's
So it's kind of crazy. They reached out to me. And I did kind of a couple. So some of these larger companies, and I think it's smart, is they'll come up to people and they'll ask them to do kind of like ad hoc work or just a couple things just to see how easy you are to work with, or how responsive you are on emails or how willing you are to adjust your content or take feedback. And so they reached out to me. I obviously they do a lot to support veterans. If you want to know kind of how to get to my social media heart, if you will, it's to do stuff for vets or for kids or for animals or for people with special needs. I am all about that. So
awesome.
So like with Monster Bass, which is another company that reached out to me, I get basically a gift card every month from them, and then I donate that gift card to 2 different kids charities. So then they use that money to pay for tackle or poles or clothing or hats or whatever it is that they want. One of them is a kind of an underprivileged neighborhood in South Texas. The teacher's name is Anthony Giorno, and he is Laguna Life Fishing, but he uses the swag to motivate his kids in the classroom. And then the other one's Rising Tides in Michigan, and he takes out kids with depression, basically fishing, and uses donations to pay for tackle and stuff for those kids. So long story short is if they have a tie to one of the charities that I very much endorse, which we just talked about, I like working with companies like that. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and when you work with a company this size, they do things the right way. Like they'll get me the product with plenty of time to do the content. They'll give me the guidelines on when they want it. They'll let me know specifically how to address the captions and the hashtags. And so like working with a professional company like that is so much less stressful for a guy like me, because all I really have to come up with is the pictures or the videos, or whatever. The rest of that stuff is really kind of like plug and play. So if I give anybody watching this who owns a company any kind of like advice, it's like do it like that. Like run through Grin, run through like a platform that tracks it. When I'm done with it, I just deliver it. I just cut and paste the link. I stick it in Grin. I put the date I did it, and I deliver it, and then it's done. I don't hear about it again.
That's awesome, man. And I've always said that too, is that organizations that don't put stock in this, but expect, high level stuff, are disconnected, and I've seen that over the years working with lots of different organizations, at various levels, over the last 10, 11 years. And, I've had the experience of working with a solid company that had, social media specialist, marketing specialist on their staff that would work with you as a creator. And that, you're right, dude. It's such a pleasure to work with a company like that, because they get it. They're putting value behind that and resources to get the best stuff out of it. So that's huge.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to help small companies. I mean, who doesn't want to help the little guy? I mean, we're Americans, right? Like,
Yes,
we're
sir.
always rooting for the little guy. We're always rooting for the underdog. But what I find is at my level of, uh, I don't know, marketability, where I have 1,000 different options, like it's very hard for me to take any extra time to have to like placate, uh, ambiguity and delays, and I need this by tomorrow when I just got it 3 days ago. I don't think people really understand that. In my mind, I lay these things out in a timeline, and I put them with trips that I'm going to take, and then I do the stuff that I need to do on the trips. And so you can't just like inject things into that. So,
Right.
um, and that's, you and I talked about this. I mean, you can't wear 12 hats at one time. So, I
Exactly.
mean, you kind of have to be a little more picky as you get bigger. And I've noticed people have kind of backed off from me too as you get bigger. Like you get less offers. People don't ask for as much because I think they feel like you're going to say no.
Or that you're going to cost too much.
Yes, that too.
Yep. Yep. For sure. No, that's you're exactly right. So let's get more on the fishing side of things. So you have been fishing. You fish what, the Moyak series? Is that right? Is that primarily the main fishing that you've been doing?
I fished the Moyak in the All American kayak series.
Nice.
Um, I think I mean I fished the Truman All American tournament. I didn't
Yep.
fish the Classic,
Okay.
but they were the same weekend. You
Yep.
know, I
I've,
I just did the regular tournament.
yep. And as far as the have you if I don't, and I apologize, brother. I don't know the type of kayak that you're running. Do you jump in the Hobie Boss at all?
No,
No.
I run Jackson right now. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, so no, I don't do the Hobie BOS.
I don't run the Hobie just because I don't have a pedal drive unit that I run with. My loadout, my standard loadout is trolling motor, either bow mount or my NK 180. So that keeps me out of the Hobie series. So
I've had a really like this is like, and I posted something about this on my stories the other day. I've had a really hard time like quelling my ambition with how I want to fish, meaning like I want to go to Okoboji and I want to go up to La Crosse and I want to do the stuff in Texas and I want to go do the Hobie stuff and the Bassmaster stuff. But I just, as you know, full-time active duty military, full-time dad, full-time husband,
yep.
full-time influencer, like, it's kind of like pick your poison. So I've just kind of learned I fish the tournaments that I can fish. I won't fish enough tournaments to qualify for AOY or the Tanny 20 or any of that other stuff, the
Yep.
classic, but I mean, I kind of have this 5-year plan. It's like, I just need to be ready for that stuff in 5 years. I'm just using all this stuff up until that point to kind of get ready for that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, you and I both were down at Lake of the Pines, and I wanted to catch you down there that day because I was going to ask you about getting on the podcast then. But you had jetted after our run in with the storms, and then that place fishing like a monster down there. That was it was the stupidest thing because it was like, the storms come in, so I'm thinking change my game plan. Come to find out, I shouldn't have changed my game plan because all the guys that stayed on kind of what my game plan was the first time, they did well. Then,
Yeah, if you were up north throwing a chatterbait, you were doing all right.
yeah, exactly. Go to Okoboji. We got a little bit of weather that had decided to come in. I decided I'm not changing my game plan. I'm sticking with this. Now, mind you, it wasn't the same kind of weather, but it was still a front that was moving. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to roll it through. Should have changed my game plan because, it doesn't want to work out this time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't drink much at all, but by God, this sport's going to make me start. Yeah, it's, you had put up a deal there about, one of your memes was, how I feel tournament fishing. And it's like the guy was, sitting there, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, yes, that's how I feel right now.
Yes. There's another guy. There's another one that was like fishing in a nutshell, and there was this old guy holding a water sprinkler going, I have no idea what the F I'm doing.
So I got to ask this because this is hands down one of the best ones that I've seen yet. There was a reel going around with this lady that was showing how to get items past a security thing. and you did a parody of this, of you coming out of Baitworks with a handful of shit, and you were doing the wiggle woggle as you were trying to get through. Dude, where did this come from? I mean, is that the way your mind just works?
No. I drew the inspiration for that from a guy named Major Gator who did it with some Berkeley stuff, but I kind of put my own spin on it, and that's, I see a lot of my stuff like I had a reel where I made like the Dumb and Dumber guy riding in the car, and one of them's me, and the other one's a 10-pound bass, and he's like, I'm gonna get you. So I came up with that on my own, 100%. And I saw people doing that for trout. I saw people doing that for catfish. But, and I don't mind that stuff. And I appreciate people that do that and tag or give credit, but then I see people steal that stuff too.
Yeah.
And put it on their own page. And, I just kind of have to be like, I'm not the sole owner of good ideas on the internet. There's I think the best way, and I said this in that post I said is, I think the best way to create is, I come up with original stuff too, like put a little converters on the Red Dragon. Let's keep this on the down low because it's not exactly street legal. Like,
right.
I came up with that all by myself. But there's stuff that I draw inspiration from in the golf community, in the hunting community, in all these kind of hobby communities. You can find so many good nuggets. There was one I did where I'm walking out the front door and then I turn into black and white, and it's like I'm like waving goodbye to my wife, and then I shut the door and I stop, and then it's like, Brandon fished for 6 hours without a fish or a bite, and he lost 6 rods, and so I found that in like fashion. I had like one of my wife's TikTok channels, so I spend a lot of time looking at other people's content and trying to find my own spin on it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is great about Instagram, is you just need to find something that you think is funny, or that you can't stop looking at, or that you've played 3 times in a row and you go, I know how I can make that about fishing.
That's awesome.
And that's what you do.
That's awesome, man. And then you got to have the skill set to actually put this, the production work to put it all together and get that. That can sometimes be daunting to a lot of guys in our sport, especially out there, is that the technical sides of things.
Yeah, and I never use like repost apps. I find the clips on my own. I cut the clips on my own. I basically have done that. Like you said, I've found the way to make this to where it's not so overwhelming. But there were times in Instagram land where I didn't even know how to match up words to songs or how to cut things you say. Like, I saw somebody else doing that and I was like, that's weird. Then I Google it, then I figure it out on my own. Now I have that kind of in the toolbox. And I just keep adding tools to that toolbox as we go.
Nice. So on the fishing piece, you had made mention of this, about there's something so peaceful about kayak fishing specifically, and I couldn't agree more. There is, for lack of a better word, there's an intimacy that you get with Mother Nature and with those fish when you are that close to the water. Even in some of our new whiz-bang kayaks that we have out there that are sitting, high above. We're in these mobile, fishing platforms, but you're still, dude, one hand reach away from touching the water, and you're in their turf, man, especially if you're on a grass bite where you're moving into grass or whatever. You're on their turf in there, and it's focusing, right? I mean, it puts all of your attention right there. Everything out here starts to quiet down a little bit, and you're one-on-one with them at that point. That piece there, how does that work for you throughout you're a full-time dad, full-time active military, full-time influencer. There's a lot of full-time in there and only one Brandon. So, I mean, how much does kayak fishing play in your zen? Your ability to keep all this stuff nice and cool and collect.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you and say that it used to, and then it kind of turned into a job. I've turned it into like a thing that doesn't help me escape, but it is the thing I'm escaping from. And that's what I kind of realized in the last couple months is like, listen, bro, like, you have that little talk with yourself, like Tony from that last reel I did, like, how's it going, Tony? Bad. How's it going? So I very much, so I love fishing rivers. Especially small rivers like the Current or the James or the Big Piney or the Little Piney or the Gasconade or the Finley. These are all rivers local to me and, within 2 hours. I love fishing for clearwater smallmouth on a small river in the Missouri Ozarks because the place you talk about that's like calm and serene and zen, that's like that's my spot. There's nobody around. There's no houses. There's no boats. There's no pleasure boaters. There's no docks. There's no dudes painting their catwalk. None of that. It's just you and the squirrels and the raccoons and the deer, and that's it. So I know that I need to fish lakes to be better at tournament fishing. So sure. I focused heavily on that. Heavily. I got the kayak ready, got it worked out. I was fishing Table Rock and Stockton and Palm and Truman and all that stuff. But I wasn't having fun and I wasn't feeling like re-energized when I finished it. So lately I've just been taking, a jig rod, a Wacky Cinco rod, and a crankbait rod. And I've been going and hitting the skinny water in the evenings and just kicking it. And so I think the part I'm trying to say is, yes, I can still get content when I do that, but it's not the sole focus or the sole purpose of the trip.
Sure. No, and you got to find that. If we've always said that the moment that tournament fishing starts to feel more like a labor and a pain than it is, having that fun and joy with it, that's a good time to start searching, for another avenue within that. The outdoors being the key. You sound like you've identified that. I mean, and you actually made statement to that earlier, is that every time you go out, if you got a lure in the water and you don't have a video camera rolling, if you don't feel like you're doing your job, that starts to become, I could see how that would start to overload a guy. Screw that camera a couple times, brother. Just leave her behind, man, and just get out there and, go enjoy yourself.
Second you do that, you're going to fall in, you're going to run into a tree, you're going to catch a 14-pounder. I mean, there's some serious FOMO here, man. There's some FOMO going on here. The universe is gonna screw you over tremendously.
Maybe that experience was just meant for you, though, bro. Not everybody else.
I know.
No, I hear you.
I wish the internet would just break.
Right? For
like a month. Just let it break for a month.
Yeah, it's I'm there. We started doing this stuff here just because we knew it was an area we could do it, and it's a necessary evil that we have to go after. But yeah, I totally believe that social media has damaged our culture. It's damaged our status of human being-ism. And I'm not quite sure. It does have its positives, but I think the negatives far outweigh it. But
I had a guy comment on my post today that basically social media is ruining the world and we should all just write a boring ass book about fishing. And I was like, I hope you're having a great day, Uh, it's so you have a charity, I'm always looking to help charities out,
Yeah.
and I told that guy, I said, look, I've raised money for charity because of this platform this year. He's like, well, pay for it out of your own pocket like everybody else does. And I'm like, or I could find a way to make way more money for this charity with everybody else's help, you know, if they want to, and have more impact.
Yeah. No, it's I'm with you, man. It's that you find ways to take the positives from it. It took me a long time on my personal Facebook because I am that older generation that runs the Facebook primarily. That's my main, I look at that more than I look at anything. Instagram is probably my number two, and then YouTube behind that. But one of the things that I had to do, especially because this was probably 2016 range when the election was going on, is I started going through and unfollowing and blocking and unfollowing. Don't show me any more of this and no more of this on my news feeds. I was trying to teach Facebook what it was that I wanted to see and what I didn't want to see. And it was like, if you talk anything politics or religion, I don't want to see it. I don't come to social media for that. That's my own personal stuff. I want fishing and funny. That's what I'm looking for. Sports, I'll follow, my Broncos or my Avalanche, whatever. But I'm watching that stuff. But anytime I get like a political ad or something that comes through in a news feed, I choose unfollow, block this. It's the content's not relevant to what I want. And it does help. It slowly starts to, I think it kind of starts to pick up on that and you don't see as much. And so it takes a little bit of time to go there. And yeah, one thing that I did follow, a big piece of advice, man, based on your story here, is I don't read a lot of comments on stuff. Our name alone of the True Patriot Outfitters, I've had several comments put up on YouTube on our videos that said, True Patriot, is that another word for something, Christian authoritative, this and this? And I'm like, well, you just don't read it all, do you? Because if you look at any of our descriptors on Spotify or anywhere out there, you'll see we don't do politics, we don't do religion. We talk fishing and service to others. That's what we do, man. So it's like, but at the same time, I look at that idiot that posted that, and I'm like, cool, thanks, man. It's traffic. That's the way I look at it. I was like, I'm not going to respond to you, but go ahead, do what you want to do. That gives me traffic, man. That's all we're looking for here. So it's a tough deal for sure. So what do you have left on the calendar here for tournaments that you think you might be able to get in with the All-American? I'm assuming Minocqua, Mississippi 13-14, those probably aren't going to be on your list because that's like a different continent away. I'm back and forth on Minocqua, dude. I want to go there, but I also know that, there's like 1,200 lakes up there, man. That's the sensory overload unless you've been up there, type thing. And so it's like, maybe not. I know it's beautiful. So maybe it's a bucket list. Maybe I'm just going there to look at the place. But for sure, Felsenthal Refuge, you going to make the championship? No? Dang it. What about Mined Lands, Kansas?
I think I'm done with All American this year, to be honest with you. I got a
Yeah.
Canada trip planned in a month that I'll be gone for 9 days. I fish the Joe Bass, which is a boat tournament. I fish that at Truman Lake once a month. Um, I think I'm making two more River Series tournaments for Moyak, and um, those big long travel ones I'm having a hard time making, to be honest with you. And I just got
Yeah.
this new job, and you know how the Army is, where they pay you 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year for the National Guard. That's another one of my issues, is that almost every kayak tournament that I want to fish falls on a work weekend. But
Right.
but I will look at this. I have them all on my work calendar, but I will look at that, and if I think I'm gonna make one, I'm gonna send it to you. So maybe we can hook up and have a
Hell yeah.
burger and a beer or something.
Hell yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, any of those. I'm actually, so next year I'm going to be only All-American and my local stuff here. And I actually would like to get more active on the Moyak series. I want to come down there and fish more of those. I love Missouri, dude. It is every time I cross the border into that state, I feel like I'm home. It's so beautiful down there. I love the people. I love the areas. I've never stayed at a sketchy place. You know, it's like even rundown places. I feel like I pity the fool that actually tries to, mess around with anybody's stuff around here. These people don't play, I'm like, no, this is my gear is safe. And, it's the people, they love anglers around because it's part of life for you guys down there, and it's awesome stuff. Now, are you originally from Missouri?
Yeah, I was born in Jefferson City and have lived just in Missouri.
Nice.
I mean, minus, combat tours and schools and stuff, but yep.
That's the other piece I was going to ask you. You do have combat experience, combat tours?
Yeah, I did a tour in Afghanistan, 12-13 in the Helmand province with medevac, which is where the name Dustoff fishing comes from. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask that, the Dustoff fishing thing. That was the lead into that. So awesome.
Yep, and then I did an Iraq tour, 18-19 in Taji.
Outstanding, man. That's well, I'm glad you're here, brother.
Thank you.
And again, from my family to you and yours, thank you so very much for doing what you guys do that allows us goofballs out here to be able to do this kind of stuff. I try to mention this a lot of times to people everywhere I go on the road is, do you like the fact that you can go to the grocery store and buy food with money as opposed to another way? Because it wasn't too long ago when citizens of this country couldn't do that. We think about this. It wasn't that long ago. And so our way of life and our ability to drive around, sure, we got to fix some stuff, but same time, we owe that to the people that make that possible for us. So that's why we're on this mission, man. And Romans Warrior Foundation, I've got some cool plans that will directly involve you. And just a matter of seeing if we can get these moving parts together. It's about a year out before this is ever going to happen. But I want to bring the Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance to the Missouri area. We've got a location in mind. I'm talking to some people. It's maybe hour and a half from you. And this could be a super cool event. We'll bring the Stop 22 tour guys into town. These are national recording artists out of Nashville that come in. And we're looking to bring all weapons to bear in what will be just a huge celebration for our the honor piece for those we've lost in the global war on terror, and of course just bringing awareness to the Stop 22 side of things of stopping this and starting to get men and women aware of the fact that they're important, they're loved, and that there's a network out there of people to talk with them. And so we've got a big deal. In Missouri is the target. We've set our target zone. We know where we want to be. Now I'll talk to you more off the air and give you some details on that. But that's a big deal. We'd love to have you a part of that. Obviously, and I think you would as well, because it'll involve fishing too. I mean, you get the best of all worlds, man. It's like we're going to bring it all together.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for stopping by here. I've taken up an hour of your time here, and I have a feeling we'll be chatting with you some more. If there's ever anything we can do from the platform with the All-American side of things or with the TPO side of things, please consider us an asset to you. We're out here. We will be glad to put anything up for you that we can, and we'll continue to be looking for these awesome reels that you put out there. And you are now the guy that I continue to watch. And it's like, okay, I don't know if I can hit that level, but if we can do half of what you're doing, dude, we're going to be strong, man. We're going to be all right.
Yeah, it's funny is I just have people come up to me all the time. They're like, why is your crap always showing up on my feed?
Because you're doing your job right, man. That's why.
I guess.
Awesome. Well, listen, Brandon, thank you so much for stopping by with us here. I'll talk to you just as soon as we roll the credits on this thing. I'll chat with you real fast afterwards. And folks at home that are watching this here right now, please make sure to smash that subscribe button for us on YouTube. Hit the follows, hit the likes, Instagram. This is how we grow the platform, we grow the mission out there. Please help us out with that. That's an awesome way you can support us in a major way. And if I'm getting better with this, there we go. As always, folks, tight lines. Oh, and stay fishy. And be safe.